Boy, the awards just keep coming here at Shacknews. Some completely unexpected winners here on our day of deliberations here. We're gonna do you know what unexpected awards are? They're surprises. That's what they
Yeah,
are.
that's true.
So we're gonna give an
Than
award.
others, right? Bigger
We're
than
gonna
others.
give an award here for the biggest surprise of 2021, and I can't wait to be disappointed by this. So let's go.
There's so many surprises though, and so many that I actually don't know where to start. I mean, I guess I could start with Pac-Man '99. I mean, that kind of coming out of the blue and just being like, okay, we made a Pac-Man '99. It's out right now, and you can go play it for free. And it being as good as it was, I mean, that's as good a place as any to start.
I do love how Nintendo announces those 99 games. They're usually during a direct and they're like available that day.
Yeah.
And there's like zero hype or anything about it. It's just here it is, go play it. You know, I love those announcements. So yeah, I agree. That was definitely a surprise earlier in this year, Ozzy, for sure.
Already pulling at my heartstrings with Pac-Man. As excited as I was for Pac-Man '99, I flipped out. There is video evidence of me flipping out when Metroid Dread was revealed this year. Yeah,
that was definitely one of the more hype moments of E3's 8-week extravaganza this summer.
Yeah,
and there were a lot of announcements to come out of that extravaganza too. I mean, we got that Elden Ring release date that just kind of. I mean, I don't. Were we? I wasn't expecting it at that moment. I mean, can we put that up there?
Elden Ring getting a release date is not that surprising.
No, it had to happen eventually.
Like games that come out have release dates, and game companies love paying Jeff Keighley. So nothing about that surprised me. It was just,
I think it was on the edge for me because we had like radio silence for so long before that. But
I see what you mean, but like it was always going to get a release date, you know, like that's not that surprising.
One that
get canceled or something happened.
There was one that maybe didn't surprise people so much because I guess by the end people were expecting it, but still to see Sora in Smash like that they actually managed to pull it off, like that was a pretty big surprise to a lot of people, and just because it looked so impossible for such a long time, and by the end I was like crunching all the numbers and thinking about everything. Maybe this is going to happen, and even though I was thinking that, I was still taken off guard when I actually saw that trailer come up, and I was like, "That's all the warm feelings inside." So that's worth mentioning too.
Yeah. Anyone else have a nomination they'd like to make?
The VR kind of surprised me. I didn't see that coming originally.
RE4 VR.
Yeah, especially it being good.
The existence of it, the fact that it came out so quickly after announced, and that it was actually good. All three of those things are kind of surprises.
To be honest, like that it was good surprised me, but like that it was announced did not. Like RE4 is on almost everything at this point. It's catching up with Doom and Street Fighter 2 in terms of like ports.
Yeah.
But what really surprised me, and TJ reminded me about this, I loved ActRaiser on Super Nintendo. The fact that there is like a new sequel just all of a sudden, like literally decades later, was literally a surprise. Like ActRaiser's back, holy shit!
Only people that were like me, that like some of us that like the dozens of us that were like diehard ActRaiser fans from back in the day were just like, please do this again. Please put it in a form. Please put it in like the Super Nintendo online thing for goodness sake. But then to go above and beyond and make and get Yuzo Koshiro back to do a whole new revised soundtrack for the game, dope beyond dope. I loved that.
Especially because it was. This feels like the real ActRaiser 2, because there was a sequel to ActRaiser, but it's like they completely missed what made the first game special. It was the connective tissue that brought together the sim style management and the platforming. ActRaiser 2 was just platforming. I'm like, no, you're missing half of what made the first game so special.
Yeah, and they expanded on it in a really smart way by adding heroes to each region that actually like fit into that sim style part of the game. That was so cool.
Okay, are there any other nominations?
I thought it was going to be a long time before we saw anything else of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So when the year started, like around February, and we got the announcement for DLC, and I was just like, "There's DLC for this?" Like I thought this was how the story went. No, they added like an entirely new side story, and they announced it in February. They released it later that year. I wasn't expecting to see anything of Remake for the next couple of years, but this was a nice thing to get while we wait, if nothing else.
How much Chadley is in it?
There isn't that much Chadley in it, but he is in it.
Chadley.
Okay. Well, I'll put it on the list, but
as long as
minus points for having Chadley.
As long as I'm on a Final Fantasy kick, I mean, not surprise doesn't necessarily have to always be a good thing.
You talking about the Battle Royale mobile app? Is that what you're about to talk about?
No, I'm talking about the Chaos Killing game. I'm talking about Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. That 1,000 memes. We're like, what the hell is this?
I don't know.
And it's just getting weirder. It keeps getting weirder. It's like we got a trailer later that year that ended with like, "Hey, what's your name?" Like Jack Garland. Like, I'm sorry, what? Say that again. Like that's a different kind of surprise.
Okay. Something
I'm just still laughing because I'm imagining Asif reviewing that Final Fantasy game and seeing Chadley in the con column.
Chadley is a huge minus point for me. Like I would take 2 points off of that game just for
oh shit. Okay.
I know we talked about this in another category and it fit very well in there, but I think it's also surprising is the rebound, but also just the prominence of GME. GameStop. I feel like that was surprising. Like I didn't expect to be talking about GameStop as a serious retailer that's seemingly healthy and moving in a good direction in 2021. Like I've been listening to you, Asif, for years being like, well, GameStop's going to be bankrupt soon, and it's not.
No. I would talk about the possibility of GameStop being. You can go. I think there's an article on Shacknews.com where I said, "Is GameStop a buy or am I an idiot?" I believe is the headline, and it's from it's one of the earliest articles I've written on the website. So no, I've had a back and forth in my own brain about the going concern that is GameStop. I think it's a fine nomination, but I think there's better.
Yeah, I do too, but I feel like it surprised
GameStop
me.
not dying, I thought, I don't know, probably fit better for comeback of the year.
Yeah.
It maybe fit better in trendsetter of the year. I don't think it's going to win this category.
No, I don't think it's going to win.
Do you guys have more nominations here? Because
there are so many we can pull out.
I would like to get to mine so that you guys can disappoint me.
And I know what you're going to get to, so I'm going to skirt around that by pointing out we can just dedicate this category to a bunch of Nintendo Direct announcements that came out of the blue, including Splatoon 3. Mm-hmm. Like I thought Splatoon 2 was in a really good place, but the fact that we're already getting a trilogy and on the same generation of hardware, I thought that was a big surprise in itself.
I wasn't mainly because I had been over in Japan recently before the pandemic, and Splatoon is everywhere there. Mm-hmm. It is insanely popular in that country, and Nintendo, they know when they have something that they can do, they can double dip on a console with. Mario Galaxy, for instance. I'm not comparing Splatoon to Mario Galaxy, but I'm just saying they have a track record of doing this where they double dip on the same console, especially beginning of life, end of life, right? We saw that with Wind Waker, Twilight Princess on GameCube. And I think that Splatoon 3 could very well be like that, like, here's your last multiplayer game on the OG Switch. But yeah, there was another announcement that I don't think anyone expected, and unexpected pleasant announcements are kind of the definition of a surprise. This Kirby 3D platformer that's taking place in a post-apocalyptic world? Come on. Who the hell expected that?
Yeah. Looked like The Last of Us.
The way it looked, I still have so many questions about that. Like, what is this island that Kirby's landed on? Why is there a dilapidated shopping mall? Like, what is this place?
And, like, is this some sort of weird tie-in? Like, is Kirby in the Splatoon universe? Because when we saw that trailer at first, even with the markings on the buildings and stuff, it really felt like you were in a Splatoon game. and then you see Kirby washed up on the beach. No, I love Mario. I love 3D platformers made by Nintendo. I love Kirby. So giving me both of those things in one place and in this weird universe, I'm very interested to see where this goes.
It's so weird. We're about to go into 2022, and there really has never been a 3D Kirby platformer. This is a kind of a big deal.
Here's something I'm thinking, guys, and maybe you can tell me to fuck off or whatever. But like so far, we brought up Metroid Dread, we brought up Pac-Man 99, we brought up the Kirby game, we brought up Sora from Smash. What if it's just Nintendo? What if Nintendo gave us the biggest surprises overall of the year? No. I'm just saying, like, because it seems to be like the majority of the things we're talking about right now all spawn from Nintendo.
I mean, if you're gonna give Nintendo an award for like, I feel like they've also had terrible announcements this year. Like I don't want to be like
the N64 expansion.
Yeah, like the N64 expansion
that was an
pack.
Unpleasant surprise.
Yeah, like
I don't. It's a surprise. It's still a surprise.
A mixed bag of surprises. Yeah.
Nintendo announcing games is not a surprise. It's what they do every year. Nintendo having directs where people are excited is not a surprise. It's the actual unexpected reveal of something cool or potentially cool that is a surprise. So no, we're not going to give Nintendo an award for being surprising.
But it's like, which of it is the most surprising?
We may give a Nintendo IP an award because it surprised us. Metroid Dread by itself was a surprise announcement. And that it actually came out and was good. Also a surprise. That it sold well. Also a surprise. But then Nintendo announced a video game that they own the IP for? Not a surprise.
I would say Metroid Dread isn't like too surprising because as TJ and I have mentioned in other categories, like, you know, the Metroid 2 remake was great, and this is the same company. So typically 4+ years, like 4 to 7 years passed between like Zelda and Metroid entry. So I was more surprised by the announcement of the Metroid 2 remake than I was Metroid Dread's reveal.
Well, I'd like to bring up another surprise that I don't think any of us saw coming, and that's the existence of Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl. Like, that's something I don't think any of us saw coming. Like
that also surprised us poorly, though. That also was a poor surprise.
They didn't stick the landing, but just the fact that somebody actually took that shot. I don't think any of us.
I'm surprised that game lasts more than 3 weeks. Yeah. So that's the surprise.
I don't know. Like, we're talking biggest surprise here,
right? And
not just that's neat. Which is how I felt about Nazby and Multiversus, honestly.
Did we know about Steam Deck before the announcement, or that they were working on hardware before that?
There had been rumors.
Yeah,
there had been a lot of rumors about Valve, and there had been patents and stuff that indicated that they may be getting into the handheld space. I think dating like 2 or 3 years ago.
So I thought so, but I just wanted to make sure we didn't grossly overlook it if there hadn't been. So
Gaben actually
the price and performance was more of a surprise.
Going to do that.
Yeah, Chris, you're right. The hardware and the performance of the Steam Deck, at least what we believe to be the performance of the Steam Deck as of right now, based on the specs, is definitely more of a surprise than the fact that they made that product.
The only surprise I could think of was Dead Space coming back. I thought that EA was just freaking sitting on that franchise for whatever reason, and it being a remake.
Dead Space remake is a good
built from the ground up was definitely pretty big surprise.
That's a good nomination. Completely unexpected, and it surprised and delighted the fan base. Like in a very, it was a very hype moment when that happened for sure.
And also the second unofficial Dead Space remake that's also being made
by the PUBG people.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
But to Oscar's credit, like when I picked ActRaiser Renaissance, that was something that was like I was a huge fan and I had no idea that was coming, and it expanded upon the game in a meaningful way. And to that end, when thinking about thinking about Kirby, that is not just like a new Kirby game. It looks like something outlandishly different from anything that we've ever seen in that series before, and it looks good. They showed gameplay, and the gameplay looked like solid Nintendo 3D platforming. And so, like, I think when I started with this, I would have went with ActRaiser, but like I think in terms of, I think Kirby's announcement is a surprise for the same reason I loved ActRaiser, but I do think it's the bigger one of them.
Yeah, I'm excited at the prospects of playing a Kirby game with the level of detail of like a Mario Odyssey. You know, I think that's gonna be interesting.
I'm still like weighing these because these are all, especially the Kirby one's a good nomination, but ActRaiser is something that has been literally dead for decades. Like that's an IP that only existed in conversations driven by nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like that to me is maybe the biggest surprise of the year. Like Kirby has been experimental before, and this 3D game looks great. But like ActRaiser, like no one saw that coming. I don't think there were rumors or anything. It was just like, hey, there's a new ActRaiser game, and it's good.
I think you can go back to our live stream reaction to the Nintendo Direct during E3, and watch me incorrectly predict what game we're seeing in that Kirby trailer like 3 times. I'm like, oh, it's a Splatoon 3 game. I'm like, oh, maybe this is a new IP. I'm like, oh, is this a Mario Odyssey sequel? And then I'm like, oh,
Kirby's dead on the beach.
Kirby dead on the beach. That image to me was, like, when I think of the 9,000 trailers we watched over that 8,000 week period that was E3 2021, that's the one trailer that sticks out in my brain still. I'm like, that was real. That was an actual announcement for a 3D Kirby game. But yeah.
I got a random left field nom if everybody else is wrapped up.
Yep.
This summer we had the Uncle Jeff show or whatever it was called. And we got a reveal for a trailer for Metal Slug Tactics, which wasn't expecting a new Metal Slug game, didn't really want one or know that I wanted one, and then this is like a completely different style of game than the series has seen before, with those cool animated intros and stuff we got, and just kind of blindsided me, I guess, with how excited I was randomly out of nowhere.
Yep. That's a very good nomination, and I actually share your excitement for that game. I like that franchise, and I like tactics games, so it's gonna be one to watch for sure. Okay, we have way too many nominations here, so I'm gonna just stop allowing you to nominate things to this category. I'm gonna list what we've nominated because you guys have probably forgotten because this list is so goddamn long, and then we'll vote. Pac-Man 99, Metroid Dread, Sora in Smash, RE4 VR, ActRaiser, Final Fantasy Chadley's Adventure, Intergrade, Stranger of Paradise, GameStop, Splatoon 3, the Dead Space remake, this upcoming Kirby 3D platformer, and Metal Slug Tactics. So I'm going to start with you, Chris. You stick with your Metal Slug?
I'm going to stick with Metal Slug.
Fair. I'm voting for Kirby. Blake, what you got? Metroid?
Oh my god, Metroid Dread, man. Yeah, I mean, David, I get your point. Like, of course the Metroid was coming, but I don't think anyone saw a new side-scrolling Metroid coming that was going to be like on par with. I know you don't like Super Metroid, but
especially they had all the messaging we had about Metroid for this entire Switch generation had been Prime related.
Yeah.
So it was surprising to see them address the Metroid fan base, and it wasn't about Prime. That was to me the surprise more than the actual existence of Dread.
It was like 19 years between 2D.
Dread had been rumored for like over a decade that there was this Metroid Dread game that was out there in the ether. So it was definitely a surprise, but I don't know if it was the biggest.
At one point it was canceled, and like this was like the first time that they had mentioned that they brought it back. But also like how exciting it was for you to see a 3D Kirby is how excited I was to see a new Metroid 2D side.
Except we've had 2D Metroids.
We have had 2D Metroids before, yeah, totally. But I didn't think I would be getting one like Dread. You know, I thought maybe.
And I would add to the fact that not only did we get Dread, but it's like excellent. I think that adds to the element of surprise here. Is that it wasn't just some rushed out thing. You know, it's a polished game experience. Okay, Bill.
Pac-Man 99.
This is gonna be a tie. I just know it.
That one pulls at my heartstrings a lot. I was like, Ozzy, you son of a gun.
Okay, Ozzy, what you got here?
Oh my god.
Don't let me down, Ozzy.
This is probably the toughest one yet so far.
All your little babies, Ozzy. You nominated so many of your babies.
I really did, and I want to say Sora and Smash, but my reaction to that at the end was these madmen finally did it. But it wasn't as big of a surprise for me as whatever the hell that Kirby game is. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with Kirby.
Yep.
Yeah.
DJ, you're on Kirby team.
I love ActRaiser, and I'm going to vote for it in another category, but you're right. That Kirby game is got me good.
Okay, Greg. Sora?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. I don't even know how they were able to do that. It's a Disney-owned character. I don't know how long the conversations took to get that character in the game.
You were adamant that was not happening.
That was. I mean, some people say, "Oh, we knew it was happening," or we knew it was.
The conversation for getting Sora into Smash was so long that Iwata was alive when it began.
Yeah. And
that's how long it took.
Donovan was there when he saw my reaction to it. I was in the chat when I got up in the morning to watch it because I'd come to the fact that it wasn't going to happen, but I was still hopeful, and it still happened. And it was just that scene of him shaking Mario's hand is a huge iconic image that'll be around forever.
I gave it like a 5% chance of it happening, but just because I gave it a 5% chance of it happening, that's why I'm not voting for it, because this Kirby thing just came completely out of left field for me. Like I would never have guessed in a million years that would be a thing.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's my vote. Yeah, Sora and Smash.
Yeah. I got you down for Sora.
I got to go with Sora too. I probably would have bet a lot of money that morning that it wasn't going to be Sora and Smash, so I don't think anything surprised me as near what is that this year.
Sure. Denny, what you got here?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Dead Space because I did not see that coming at all, especially since the studio was not even a thing anymore. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that one because especially the fact that they decided to go the remake route. So hopefully it turns out well, but with Dead Space 3 leaving a terrible taste in my mouth, I just thought that franchise was done.
Okay, David, you could either cause a revote or
I think I've caused enough chaos in categories. I don't know. I think Asif made some valid points. I don't have a ton of affinity for Kirby, but I will say that, like, for example, the upcoming Pokemon of the Wild game, like, I'm intrigued by that because it's a big open 3D world in the style of Breath of the Wild. So I'm kind of interested in Kirby being kind of at least so far, all these nods to Mario Odyssey. That does intrigue me. So I'll say the Kirby announcement.
Hooray for Kirby. Kirby wins 4-2 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1.
Kirby lives.
You guys nominated too many things. Like, I feel like
there's a lot of surprises.
Whoa. Ozzy let me down. Ozzy done me dirty.
I'm saying that it's entirely possible that the Nintendo vote was fractured here.
Definitely.
Because there were so many Nintendo announcements in this list.
This is Nintendo's so damn good at this.
Being a news writer kind of sucked the life out of Metroid Dread for me because we work in the rumor mill when we write our stories. Yeah. And like 2 weeks before the Metroid Dread was announced, we got the rumor that Mercury Steam was the developer, and that got me thinking, oh, well, probably not Prime then.
But the thing is, the other thing I want to mention, though, is that for as good as Nintendo is at this, and as much as we've come to expect this sort of thing out of them, PlayStation's having a pretty good year themselves. And, like, there's a bunch of things from them that we didn't mention. We didn't mention Insomniac's Wolverine. Yeah. Like, did anybody think that was coming? Like,
that's true.
Like, they're starting to get pretty good at this themselves, and I think we're going to be talking more about PlayStation surprises next year, too.
Insomniac's just damn good at making video games. And I prefer to give them awards when they make these awesome video games than to be like, hey, nice CG trailer you got there. I don't know. The main difference to me is we did not see gameplay of that Wolverine game. We did see gameplay of this Kirby game. And that to me is a big deal. That this game is actually coming soon. It felt like, and this is not just Sony, Xbox as well, both of their presentations were like, here's some games that are coming out in 2022, 2023, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think about Redfall, like just big CGI trailer.
Yeah. So I think that's the main difference here is that we actually saw gameplay in that Kirby trailer. So congratulations to HAL Laboratory and Nintendo for all the nominations in this. our biggest surprise is the unannounced Kirby 3D platformer. Poyo.
What am I going to do with the award? Nothing. I don't know what I'm going to do. That's the least of my concerns right now.